In the mid-2000s, this area was sold as the next urban living destination for Bangkok, and a lot of expats took the bait and moved here. But one thing that is very noticeable in On Nut in 2022 is that gentrification has been messy. The thing about On Nut is that some people love it and some people hate it. Developers will claim it's an urban hipster utopia, while others will say it's an absolute nightmare. So what is it going to be? Well, I'm going to have to show you the good and the bad. So welcome to On Nut. Well, construction around On Nut is moving along at a breakneck pace. There's absolutely no let-up whatsoever. You've got one condo being built here. You've got this land that's been cleared to be developed as well. And you can probably just see it behind me. The Metropolitan Water Authority and the famous landmark water tower will most likely be razed to the ground very shortly to be developed. And just across the road here, the old fire station, which was still open when I was here last year. But this, no doubt, has been sold for yet more luxury condos. Well, I'll tell you what else On Nut really needs, and that is 2 pedestrian crossings either side of the BTS station, because this is not a pedestrian friendly area at all. But the other problem is, would anyone take any notice of any pedestrian crossings? I think you know the answer to that one. Well, the first time I came to On Nut, this big C was actually a Carrefour supermarket, so that's how long it's been. And this is also the area I was looking for the beer garden, because I was told it was next to the food market. And I actually went across the road to the fresh market, which is definitely not the place where there's a beer garden. That is more likely the place where you get your meat and 2 veg. And there's also a Filipino convenience store there. And as we all know, we have a very healthy Filipino community here in Bangkok. Well, there's definitely no doubt On Nut has a lot to offer in a very small area, but I can't help thinking that if you live in one of those flashy condos back that way, then negotiating the crowds, the fumes, the traffic and the noise just to get to the BTS can't be much fun doing it every day. So my verdict on On Nut so far is about 60-40 in the favour of 40. Well, if you're visiting the area, no trip is complete without a walk down the famous On Nut street food market here in Sukhumvit 77-1. And I've been told there's a lot of delights on offer, and it certainly smells like it. As you know, I'm a sucker for crappy 1960s architecture, and there is plenty of it along here. But most importantly, this street food market is a culinary miracle. Time to get away from the noise and the traffic for a bit. Let's have a walk down Story 81. I haven't heard great things about it, but we'll give it a chance. And I'll tell you what I'll do. 500 metre limit. If there's nothing interesting within 500 metres, then we'll come straight back. Well, I tried my hardest to make Soi 81 interesting, and I'm afraid this canal is about as exciting as it's going to get. The Khlong Bang Nang Chin. And even this is not that exciting. Although there is a bit of history here. There's a plaque on the floor down there that says that this concrete flood protection that they've built here was built in 1991. So a bit of interesting history for you. So altogether, that is Soi 81. Someone on Twitter said Sukhumvit Soi 50 is the classic stereotype expat ghetto, but I beg to differ. There's some very nice condos along here, so maybe ghetto is not the correct word to use. Anyway, let's explore Sukhumvit 50. First Soi I'm going to go down is Soi Loisak. It looks interesting because the end of it is a dead end and it backs onto the Chalong Rat Expressway flyover, which usually means there's something unusual going on at the end. So let's take a walk and see what's what in Soi Loisak. A bit of canal action here, the Khlong Gang, and it's not in great shape, to be honest. There's some filthy water in there that I can see, but that's probably due to the fact that this area where I'm standing here is obviously the local place where people come and take a piss because it stinks like an absolute toilet. This next Soi, it doesn't actually have a name if you look on Google Maps, but I found out it's called Soi Pecharat, and I've got a friend who used to live along here and bake pizzas on his balcony, and very delicious as well they were, by the way, hello to you. And he tipped me off about a few exciting things to see at the very other end of the Soi. So let's get going and see what we can find. So the name of this Soi is Gita Ashram, Thailand. So that can only mean one thing. So let's go and have a look. Well, this piece of land here, which obviously used to have a house on it, doesn't look like anyone's opened the gate or been in here for decades. But there's a pair of shoes outside here next to what looks like a window. And the only thing I can think of is that a very polite burglar took his shoes off here before he went in to rob the house and then never came out again. So inside this compound here, on this land, is probably a spirit looking for his shoes. And I don't see a spirit house anywhere nearby. So there's a potential ghost story there. I might have a word with a local temple and put this on their radar. This area definitely has a Wild West feel to it, and if you've ever seen life underneath flyovers, then you'll know what I'm talking about. And I'm very limited in what I can take photos of and shoot under here because they're a bit of a law unto themselves, if you know what I'm saying. They tolerate me with my camera smiling a lot, and actually one of them did offer me a beer. Anyway, this patch of land behind me is no doubt going to be developed on in the very near future, and you can probably see it just behind me as well. The Siamese Tower, not quite sure if it's a condo or an office, looks like neither, but whatever it is, I'd love to live there for the view. I'm at the Sakura second-hand store, and the only thing missing here is the presenter of Antiques Roadshow popping in to find something valued at $1 million, but I very much doubt that's going to happen. What they sell here is not for everyone, but it definitely made an interesting 30 minutes of browsing. Well, this is the limit of my exploration down Soi 50 underneath the Khlong Rat Expressway flyover here. I've seen enough of Soi 50 to realise it is a very pleasant neighbourhood indeed. There's some very reasonable condo rentals down here, and if you're looking to relocate to On Nut, then choose this side of Sukhumvit Road. The garbage truck is just down the road there, but you'd never guess that there were piles of garbage along the street because they put flowers down one side of the pavements here in On Nut Road. And at first I thought there was a perfume shop open nearby, but no, these flowers are doing a great job. Noise around On Nut is constant. Cars, buses, bikes and trains all battling to be heard. Urban decay sits alongside brand new development, but there's some great places to eat and drink around here. And if you really need to unwind, there's always Cheap Charlie's. Cheap Charlie's is down an alleyway off Sukhumvit 50 where there's other bars and restaurants. A lot of expats hanging out here, so if you're looking for a quietish place to eat or drink, then this is the place to come. Well, there's two bars down here playing Dire Straits at exactly the same time, so I thought it would be a good time to do a bit of musical trivia. Name the album that the Dire Straits track Your Latest Trick comes from. It's dead easy. Well, if you don't mind the noise of a construction site literally right next door, then this place is a pretty pleasant spot. And I heard about it, I was told it was the latest hotspot for Instagrammers, although I haven't seen anyone taking a selfie anywhere near me anyway. But then again, who wants me in the background? But being honest with you, these kind of places are not my cup of tea. No offence intended at all. But this place is obviously a very good cup of tea to a lot of people. So if you're into that kind of thing, then come and check it out. Well, it wasn't quite the ordeal I thought it might be, apart from the noise, I suppose. But this is Bangkok. And I'll be back down Sukhumvit 52 a little bit later as the sun goes down a bit. I've been tipped off about a pond at the end of the soi where there's a lot of monitor lizards living. And if I get there at the right time, I might be able to catch a few on camera. I was once trapped in a taxi for an hour and a half in a traffic jam, and the driver was a part-time Amway salesman. And as soon as he told me this, I knew he was going to try and sell me something. And it got a bit predictable. He was trying to flog me the vitamin supplements, the protein drinks. Then he suggested I come and train as an Amway salesman. But it got a bit scary after that because he was going on about self-motivation and bettering yourself. And at one point he was banging his fist up and down on the steering wheel, telling me I ought to be getting up at 5:30 in the morning to do motivational exercises. So I always had a bit of a phobia about Amway after that. A friend of mine wanted to buy a condo in the Verve, couple of years ago, but he never had enough money. I said, how are you going to afford it? He goes, oh, I've got a technique that makes me work harder, be more productive. I said, what's the technique? He goes, oh, I smoke loads of weed and it motivates me. I said, oh, right. I saw him a year later and he hadn't bought the condo. I said, what happened? He goes, oh, the drugs don't work. Just down there used to be the On-Nut Square beer garden night market, and it was a food market as well. It was really popular with expats because I think the novelty was that you felt like you were out in the suburbs drinking with the locals. And in those days, On-Nut was the suburbs because the skytrain finished here for quite a few years. But now it's all memories and the only thing we've got to look at is old photos. Well, there's not a lot of people around, which is fantastic, so it means I can have a stroll around. From what I can see, Sansiri Backyard is a community project aimed at promoting the growth of organic fruit and vegetables, and I can also see, just behind me, a few goats and sheep. Not sure if those goats and sheep are there for eating purposes and selling, or they're just there for the kids. Let's find out. That's one thing I miss about North London, a good goat curry. Goats are pretty eccentric animals, I know that. And they're also well known for eating anything. When I was a kid, there was this house and the people who lived there were pretty sort of trampy. And they had loads of goats and we used to lean over the wall and look in their garden with all the goats. And they used to eat all sorts of stuff like plastic bags and anything. I think I've got some cat food, but think of the cats. They won't be very happy if I'm giving all their food to these goats. Anyway, they've all left me now. They're going over to that guy to get a bit of food. I weren't talking to you. Well, this place is definitely interesting. An oasis in the middle of madness. Nice and peaceful apart from the construction sound in the background. And they've got 3 greenhouses here with melons, one with tomatoes, but you can't actually go in and see how big the melons are, which is a shame. I wanted to check those melons out. And they've got a sign anyway, it says 24-hour security monitoring, so that will stop any potential foragers. Anyway, let's have a look at the chickens and then we'll be on our way. This is Chris Waddle, the 1990 World Cup in Italy. That's not how it went actually. Anyway, we're going to bring this video to a sweaty conclusion here in On-Nut. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration over the last few days. It's been an interesting area indeed. Would I move around here? Probably not, to be honest, but it's still a great neighbourhood all the same. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. If you want to support me and support the channel, I would really appreciate it if you buy me a coffee or join the channel and become a member. That just leaves me to say thank you very much for watching, and until the next video, I will see you soon.